Paul, my second secret of success would be to identify your market.
Okay, so identify your market. Can you explain a little bit more?
When I came back into magic, I found that the ones that were working regularly were doing children's magic, and I also saw an opportunity to do close-up magic.
Was there much close-up going on?
Not at that time.
In New Zealand?
I got a break at Fisherman's Wharf.
Right.
And they booked me to do a week, and I ended up doing there 5 years.
Well, that's another point. I want to talk about that in a minute. But so you created a market, right?
Well, I did. I created a market there because I saw an opportunity.
Right.
But I could see, because of our changes of the laws here in New Zealand with drink driving, cabaret basically died overnight. So anyone that was doing a cabaret performance, they either had to leave New Zealand or look for other opportunities.
So you need to do research, in other words. You've got to identify your market, find out what your community or your town or city, or in your case a country, because it's about the size of a city in America, what other people are doing, what your competitors are doing.
Correct. You analyse all that. It's like a market research. You do a market research.
Right.
And when I adopted that and I started moving into the children's field, I worked regularly. I worked the whole time, every weekend.
Yeah.
And then I made the transition into becoming a full-time professional and started working in the close-up field and then into the corporate field.
Now that's interesting, because I know that people that purchase this DVD are perhaps looking for that next step to maybe become a professional magician. And this isn't, because I get emails, I'm sure you do too, people asking, do you think I'm ready to be, what's your advice to become professional, and so on. So they really need to do their research, don't they? And have something established, know their market.
Correct. The best way, in my opinion, what I did is I had a full-time job. I just worked on the weekends. And then when you find that you've got enough work, you can make the transition. Basically, you have to let go one to be able to go up and do better.
And I guess it's in steps. It's like a ladder, right?
Correct.
If you want to get to the next level, sometimes you have to let things go and take the chance. And
That's right.
I'm sure it's not easy.
You've got to refocus.
Did you do a marketing plan or a what do they call a business plan at all?
Yes, that comes in another.
Oh, that comes later on, but no, we'll get into that then. Sorry, jumping the gun, but you did do that. Yeah.
Yes.
So that all comes in
plan.
right. Yeah. So you identify your market. You realise that the close-up and well, actually, you sort of started close-up. I think probably in restaurants in New Zealand. Certainly, I can't remember growing up anyone else doing what you were doing in restaurants. Now, it's interesting because you mentioned Fisherman's Wharf. You held that. I think you achieved records. You performed over 1,000 performances at that restaurant over 5 years. Is that
1,443 nights?
How many nights a week?
5 nights.
5 nights a week. You were there for how many years?
5 years.
5 years. Now again, and this is interesting because I think if you're thinking about becoming a full-time magician, close-up magic in a restaurant is a great vehicle for other work, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's an opportunity for you to talk to the people at first hand, and you get a chance to promote your children's shows, corporate shows, parties.
Sure, so you can use that again to develop to different stages. And
work generates work. The more work you do, the more work you'll get offered.
Work, that's a great point. Work generates work. I must remember that. Yes, if I want to work. That's that's great. Now, Dan Garrett, good New Zealand friend of all of New Zealand. We love Dan Garrett. Dan, what did Dan call you? Something.
He called me the GP of magic because basically I do everything. I do children's magic. I do shopping malls, theme parks, corporate, around.
Now, but again, you looked at because you don't stop. This is what amazes me about you is you don't stop working, and I've known you since I was since I was about 12. I think you came along to the Junior Magicians Club. I won't tell you how many years ago that was, but you were always at the top. You're always at the top, and it's an ongoing process to stay there, isn't it?
The secret's not to get there; it's to stay there.
Exactly, because if you look at like a music act, well, even not just music, but let's look at music acts, for example. The musicians that have, like Madonna, for example, she's always reinventing herself, right? And you're the same. For so many years, you've been at the top of the field, top of the game, constantly working. And so I guess you must be re-evaluating that market as well, correct?
Well, you are now. I'll give you an instance at Rainbow's End. I've been there, 23 years.
So Rainbow's End is a theme park, right?
New Zealand. and I do a...
How many years have you been there?
23 years.
23 years, that has to be some sort of record for a theme park performer.
And I do a family magic and illusion show there,
Mm.
and of course I know that they're always looking for different things, and I created a character called the Rainbow Wizard, which made me part of it, which was be a lot harder to change me.
And to get another magician in,
That's
right?
right, because
And-
it's now become
yeah.
an identity there.
Well, on the DVD, Alan was very kind enough to let me follow him with a camera, and we're going to show some shots later on of you at the theme park,
Mhm.
because it's completely different. You're a character there. You developed it for. You looked at the market,
Mhm.
and I know because I worked there myself a couple of times. But you looked at what they needed, and they saw the value in what you were giving them, and that you created this character for them. And again, it's all marketing, because you are the Rainbow Wizard. People recognise you as the Rainbow Wizard, just as they do with the Kiwi Magic.
Mm.
And so you created that market again,
That's right.
correct?
Yes.
So it's all about identifying your market, and even trying to, if it's not there, try to create it,
Mm.
right?
It's very true.
And you're so busy with your shopping malls again. And I think shopping malls have gone in a different direction now in New Zealand. It used to be a time where shopping malls were a big market. And times change, so you've probably gone, right, I know that you still work, you're one of the few that still work shopping malls,
Mm.
right? But again, you're probably re-evaluating your market all the time.
Well, also I've developed a relationship with the people who run the shopping malls,
Yeah.
and as soon as I finish they rebook me for the next year.
So it's more than just going in and doing your show.
Oh,
At the theme park, for example, there's the behind-the-scenes work, which is what we want to talk about here. Because I think magicians can go out and do a show, that's fine. But it's keeping the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about relationships, as you just said,
You've
right?
got to develop good relationships.
Yeah.
They've got to really become your friends.
So
Friends
give us
in
an
business.
example, something you would do at Rainbow's End. I mean, it could be something simple to help build that relationship. So if someone wants to create a long-distance work place, for
Mhm.
example, a restaurant or a theme park, what's something that you would do?
One of the major things, and it seems so simplistic, is reliability and consistency. They know that they're going to get the same sort of professional show every time. They know that I'm totally reliable. So they're two major points that I'd like to share with you.
And that's probably why you hold these records at Rainbow's End and at the restaurants, because I know you're going to turn up, they're going to do a great job.
Mm.
So that's incredibly important, yeah. I know on cruise ships, people have lost work because they've been unreliable. They've got off the cruise ship, they've decided they would fly from New York to Florida for a day and try and fly back, and they miss the ship and they're fired.
Mm.
The companies, people don't want to think, oh gosh, is that person going to be there or not? And that's probably, you think that's common sense, but there are performers that don't think like that, which amazes me.
One word, reliability.
Reliability, great. Okay.